Welcome to another episode of Stories from the Edge of Life. We have our great colleague and friend, Dr. Andrea Martinez de la Vega from Mexico, joining us again today. Hi there.
Hi, thank you for having me again. I guess I'm thrilled and I'm delighted to be here with you again. And I'm also really excited. What's going on in your mind today? Tell us.
I will, just in a minute. Uh, Not everybody might know you from previous interviews, so would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Dr. Andrea, as you said. I'm from Mexico City. I'm a palliative care physician, and I think that pretty sums it up pretty much.
All right,
I like to keep it simple, straightforward.
great. And I'm Parag Bharadwaj. I'm a hospice and palliative medicine physician. So let's talk about one of the things that you brought up in one of our conversations. The name of this channel is Stories from the Edge of Life, and we at one point were having a conversation about um, you know birth and death, and you brought up a great perspective and say, hey, when a baby is born, is it really the beginning or is it really the end of something? And when a person dies, is it really the end or beginning of something else? So I would like to know, how did this idea come to your mind in the first place? Was it through a patient experience or perhaps a accumulation of many experiences, perhaps at work, that brought this question up in your mind? And could you elaborate a little bit more about you know your take on what you had said?
Well, actually, I would like to share that my mind likes to wander. It goes off places I don't even know they exist, but they're there in my mind. And one day, I believe it was like almost a year ago, I was meditating and I was like, you know, sitting fully relaxed with my arms in front of my lap. And then my mind, I couldn't keep it quiet, you know? It was wandering. And then this thought came in like, are you really helping people to die? Or are you helping them to be reborn? And I was like, oh my God, am I on drugs? What's going on here? That's crazy. And then I went like, no, no, back off. No, those, I like bottled up those ideas and thoughts because they were like too much for me to handle then. And then I was like, in a way, when we came to this life, there's an end to a life, to a in uterus life, you know? So, am I preparing them for their arrival, or are OB-GYNs preparing them for their arrival? And my best friend is a gynecologist. And then I mentioned it to her, and she's like, oh my God, there you go again with your crazy stuff in your mind. Please, please stop it. I cannot deal with you right now. And I was like, why not? It's really quite a different perspective. And she said, that's why I cannot deal with it right now, because it's moving a lot of things in my mind and I have to put it all together again so I can give you a straightforward answer. I don't think I have a straightforward answer for this, but I believe that every life we have has an edge of life. It doesn't matter if we're taking it from the beginning or the end, because it's just about, I think it's about perspective, you know? But I believe that as culture, as humans, we're a lot more comfortable with mothers giving birth than with grandpas dying or grandmas dying, you know? But what if we could actually see it in reverse, you know, the other way around, and actually be happy this person is ending their part in this world, you know, as they've learned all they had to learn, they teach all they have to teach, and they're going somewhere else. We don't know what, we don't know when, we don't know where. It's really peculiar what everybody thinks about this perspective, but I believe if we could actually say goodbye to them with joy, you know, like welcome to your other new life that we don't know whatever is going to happen, but you fulfill this one. And then I don't know, I tell you, my mind wanders and it travels. And But basically, is that, like, what if?
Yeah, that's a great perspective, and definitely made me think. Uh, because I will tell you this. Now, when a baby is in utero, of course, there is a process. That the mother is pregnant, and then the child is developing. The belly of the mother keeps expanding, and then eventually the mother is going to give birth, right? So there is a natural progression that is observed, um, by all observers around the pregnant mother. However, when a person is dying, I think it's the probably the fear of the unknown, as to what's going to happen afterwards. That I think is what most people try to avoid. Would it? What are your thoughts along those lines?
That dying is also a process. You do not die in one day. The body also prepares for death. You know, it might take even weeks for a body to fully decompose and die. But we are not looking for it because we don't want to die. We want to avoid it, as you said. So we both have changes at the beginning with the mother pregnancy and the belly, uh, you know, getting bigger and bigger. But we also have changes in the body that is preparing for death. And I believe that as doctors, we try to avoid watching them also as persons. But I believe palliative care takes a little special extra care in, oh, I can connect the dots and I can see where we're going and I can see the whole picture because I'm used to that and I'm not afraid of that and of dying. And I can actually explain it to other people, but they don't want to listen. But if we truly and sincerely observed the patient, we would notice every little single change that's leading us to death. And then we would have time to prepare as we prepare for a baby who is going to be born. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to me. But again, some things we want to listen and watch, and some others we want to avoid. So,
Exactly. I think we are more open to observing the birth rather than observing the death, right? Uh, Now, you bring up some great points. Let me ask you this. So, was it a particular patient experience that made you think about this, or you said of course, you were meditating, but what led you to meditate in the first place? Were the things that were on your mind in terms of what is going on and what is this all about?
no, I was meditating because I had a really rough week at work and I needed to put my mind at ease and I wasn't making it because my mind's always, like a turmoil inside. And then, I don't know, it was like an insight, it's like a little light in the darkness in my mind. And then it was like growing and growing and I cannot get it out of my mind. And I can see you cannot get it out of your mind either because it's really interesting that perspective.
It sure is, and that's why I was like, we got to talk about it uh, on Zoom, and we got to record it and share that perspective. And of course, every individual has their own outlook on this particular issue. So, would love to see what others have to share in the comment section of this video. Would love to get more insight and perspectives. Now, the one thing that you did mention is, that becoming a process. So, I just want to make sure I understand it the way you do, because one of the things that I learned when I was training was in hospice and palliative medicine was that, with the advancement of medicine, death is no longer an event; it's become more of a process, right? Uh, uh, More people are dying of chronic illnesses rather than acute events. Say, for example, a sudden heart attack or an accident where you didn't have time to think about it and time to prepare for it. Uh, but with the advancement in medicine, if there is a medical issue, you try to treat it, address it, and then things may or may not work out the way you want them to as a clinically. And then if things don't work out the way you want them to, then of course it gives the patient and individuals time to prepare for the eventuality.
And I believe it's also that the doctors need to prepare, because sometimes as doctors we are taught that the death of a patient is our failure, and it's not. It's a natural part of life. But I think if we could be a little bit more observant in chronic illnesses patients and or even elderly patients who are wealthy, because they're gonna die also, and the body is gonna be stop working in a very ordered, like very sequential. I don't have the word like path, you know. And then what can we learn from that moment to get an insight of what's really happening, not to the body, but to the mind and the thoughts of the person who is actually going through the process? Because we can actually ask a pregnant woman, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? But we cannot necessarily ask a dying patient, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? Because first, we're not looking for that. And second, most patients at the end of life won't be able to verbally communicate. So, how do we get that insight and that information from them to make us better at understanding what happens, how it happens, and how can we better cope with the idea of letting go?
Great insight. And I don't know about your experience, but I've had patients who have told me that uh, they've looked at each day in their lives as an opportunity. Each day they feel like they were reborn. So like you were saying, hey, when we are born and we come into this world, do we end something and then we start something new? And I've met individuals who feel, hey, every day is a new start and every day is a new opportunity, and that's how they have looked at life. So really interesting in you know perspectives and on looking at life by different individuals.
Yeah, actually, I think the one that you've mentioned right now, like living the new day as a new person with new opportunities and as a rebirth, or being reborn, I think it's the best way of living life because you can go to bed without having any issues in your mind or something that's left on or something that you didn't say or didn't do. And then if you didn't do it, probably the person you're going to be tomorrow, maybe, I don't know, won't be needing to do that and be thrilled and looking forward for new experiences as a new person. So I really enjoy what you're saying there, and I think it's really interesting that I think the hard part of that is actually taking it to practice. Like every day, it's not impossible, but truly hard.
Yeah, that's the discipline, right? I think sometimes what I've heard from wiser folks is they distill things down to very simple things in life, but then it's the discipline of trying to maintain and achieve those things.
Yeah, that's the hard part,
Yeah.
especially with the rhythm we're living with, like everything's immediate and fast and furious, like tuk, 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 tuk. And you're not even finishing one task and you're thinking about the 20 other tasks you have to do. But what if you actually focused on one and then move on to the next one instead of multitasking? I mean, mindful tasking. I think that would be better, I believe.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because just today I was having some communication with a friend of mine where said, "Hey, if you just focus on one task and perhaps you enjoy it, uh, that's what it's all about in the end, right? You want to enjoy every experience that you're going through rather than looking at it as a task that needs to be completed,
Exactly.
right?
But we have to
So
program ourselves for that.
absolutely, and so I think uh, great conversation, great perspective. Thank you for sharing that with me and allowing me to share it with our audience. Continue our discussions, and every so often we will continue to have these discussions for our audience.
I'm thrilled and I'm happy and I'm excited to see what the next one's going to be about. And also, I'm very grateful for you having me again. And I hope the audience doesn't get bored with us discussing these topics, you know? I actually hope they want to want more, you know, to discover more, to crave more, because I believe that's where the awakening is, and we need to awaken as society. You know, like what really matters, what really matters, what makes you happy, what makes you want to celebrate death or life or both, what takes.
Yeah, I think there's also a time and place for everything, right? So I mean, we look at the same situations from in our past, right, differently as our years go by. So yeah, the like you said, hope it'll work for the audience, and if not, maybe it's not the right time.
Well, they will find, at least it will be moving something inside of them, and then we will let them process it,
I
because
think
it's
that's
about to handle.
Yeah, I think that's the whole idea, is to, you know, get the wheels moving, just like you made me think, when you brought up this particular concept. And I think the beauty is we learn from each other.
Yeah, I do learn a lot, and I believe everybody has something to teach us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for teaching us something new today. And we hope to have you back again in the future.
Thank you for having me today, and I will be delighted to join you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.